Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. Welcome back to another Snap Judgment review. What's a Snap Judgment review if you've never watched before? Well, I get about 5 to 10 hours with the game. I think that game reviewers nowadays forget what the early game is like because of the fact that they have to 100% it or near 100% it. So I just play 5 to 10 hours, and I'm trying to give you an idea whether you'll like it right off the bat or not. That, coupled with the fact I think games are one of the most subjective forms of art. I'm not going to give you a score on this. I'm going to give you the overview of what the game is. Then I'm going to tell you the pros and the cons of the game in my point of view, as all reviews are. And then I'll be telling you whether I personally will be sticking with the game outside the purposes of this review. So, as you can see by the footage on your screen, I am reviewing the highly controversial Skull and Bones. Now, I want one more disclaimer on this review. I have not played the full game yet. This review is coming out on the day that the game is actually coming out, but I did play in the open beta, which is indicative of the final product because, let's face it, it's only 3 days prior to the actual release of the game. So I got my hours in there and my recording in there. So that's what I'm basing this review on. I don't think that there's going to be any big enough changes to change what I'm about to say here. But if there is, keep that in mind. So what is Skull and Bones? Skull and Bones is a pirate game-as-service, multiplayer sort of situation. The entire system's kind of based on the old-school Black Flag. Assassin's Creed 4, that is, where the mechanics are basically the same. You get in the ship, you sail the ship, then you can shoot your cannons, kind of in the same way. But all of the combat in this game, all of this game is focused around naval combat. So, right off the bat, there is third-person scenes. They usually include exploration of different outposts, as well as exploration of different cities. They're also where you get like quests and talk to people and stuff like that, and that's your captain. However, the bulk of this gameplay is naval combat. That's it. There's no swashbuckling, there's no swords play. This is not Sea of Thieves. This is a naval combat style thing, and the naval combat is kind of engineered to be more fast-paced and more arcadey. So it's not really a sim of boats. That's not what this is either. They're very fast, which old sailing boats weren't, and they're very they're very shooty. It is a very arcadey. And before we get into anything, that's not saying I think that that's bad. We'll talk about all of this in the pros and cons. That's just what it is. Expect that going in. Now, you, of course, right off the bat, you start playing this tutorial, which has been cut down from the closed betas that I used to get into. And basically, you just play this captain who loses everything and has to build himself back up from scratch, starting with just a small fishing boat, and then slowly becoming a pirate captain. Look, I'm going to be straightforward. I'm going to be honest with you. This is about as games as servicey can be. The hub things, the hub mission givers are all like quest givers. They'll send you out to get something, you'll come back, you'll turn that quest out to get a quest to go back out and do it. And the whole thing is about gaining more resources, to gain more loot, to gain more stuff, to blah, 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 rinse and repeat. This is a gameplay loop marketed as a game. Is that a bad thing? I'm not saying it is. There is some bad parts about this game, which we will discuss, but this has a lot in common with on that level with your average Destiny, or a lot of the other ways that games have been going, like Marvel's Avengers and Suicide Squad and all that. I will say this game does promote exploration a little bit better than other games of service. There's a lot to see here. The game is very pretty, and you're looking to the way they do the blueprints is instead of the other games where you kill a thing or you open a chest and get a bunch of guns or weapons to replace the old weapons and guns, this one's a lot more like you have to search for a blueprint, then collect resources to build that thing, to then attach it to your ship or make a new ship out of it. And they lean into the fantastical. You could get torpedoes and flamethrowers and all sorts of crazy stuff on your ship, which I think is interesting. Again, we'll talk about it in the pros and cons. But like I said, the story is almost non-existent to the point where the dialogue is We'll talk about it in pros and cons, I guess. But it's very, very, very games of service-y. You could skip every line of dialogue and know what's going on in the game. Again, doesn't make it bad. Not quite sure. But that's what this game is. That's what Skull and Bones is. You go out, you search, whatever, you come back, you build the thing that you were looking to do, you go out and search again. What is interesting about this, though, which separates it a little bit from the games of service-y, is you don't necessarily have to do the quest to level up your character or get things. I did spend a whole chunk of time just like tagging my blueprints of stuff that I wanted to build and then going out and robbing other ships to get blueprints or finding other resources to get blueprints to bring that back to get the blueprints, which gives me experience. So I don't necessarily have to even participate in the story if I don't want to. It's much more like, hey, you're a pirate captain, go do pirate stuff, and that's that. So let's go ahead and get into the pros and cons, because there's not much other meat on this bone. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do in this game. You'll cook food to keep your crew happy. You will craft things. You'll purchase things. You'll deal in commodities to bring up your loot. You'll buy cosmetics for your little pirate guy. I mean, run-of-the-mill basic stuff that we've all seen and played, at least for the first 5 hours. You're not getting anything spectacular. There is a lot of helm stuff and captain stuff towards the end, which I have had the privilege of kind of seeing small parts of thanks to early access to closed beta, but I don't know if that's even what that looks like anymore. Their open beta only allows you to get so far, and it meets my requirement, so we'll have to see what that is. Maybe I'll do a review later of like so much time in. So let's go ahead and get into the pros and cons. I like to go positive first. Let's start with the pros. Pro number 1, the naval combat with the bullet nails it. It is extremely fun. It is extremely tactical, fun. It's got the twitch reflexes, but not too much. It's really cool. I really like it. I know what you're all saying out there. Boarding's a cutscene. It is. I'm not arguing with that. But that didn't bother me. It wasn't a game changer. Would I like swashbuckling scenes in a pirate game? Sure. I'm like anybody else. That being said, in a multiplayer situation like this, especially when you have PvP options, I think locking yourself into a boarding swashbuckling thing would just leave you open to just get destroyed by the computer. And in that kind of processing, kind of how much processing they have to do on the server, I don't think it's feasible with what they're trying to accomplish. That being said, it's definitely a down that you can't board and do the swashbuckling. But the ship-to-ship combat, never been better. I have never had more fun in the ship-to-ship combat. Honestly, in Sea of Thieves, I find the combat incredibly cumbersome because of the fact that everybody's got their role and it's so slow to do stuff and load the cannon and fire the cannon. Whereas with this, it's just you're in there, you're in the ship cannon, you're going, wow. It's definitely like a shock and awe sort of feeling when it comes to the combat and the naval stuff. And I like it. I prefer it. I enjoy sailing the ship. I also want to say just the mechanics of sailing the ship are really good. Even when I'm sailing against wind, it doesn't feel like, oh, I can't do anything now. You still move at a brisk enough pace to get where you're going. So it really promotes that exploration feel. It promotes the going out, just looking for things, which I have had some of my most fun so far with this open beta was just, you know what, I'm not even going to take a quest. I'm just going to go out. I'm going to loot what I want to loot. I'm going to see what I could see. I'm going to find different outposts. I really enjoy that, and they've done that really well. That brings me to my next pro. We'll just kind of fold it right in, which is, while there is a lot of games as service stuff in here, just run-of-the-mill games as service stuff, which we're going to talk about in the cons too, there is some very interesting dynamic ideas here taking place. One of the things that I think has stagnated games as service is somewhere along the line, executives decided that every games as service has to look like Destiny. That's what it has to look like. Doesn't matter what the subject Marvel is. Oh, you want to do a Marvel superhero games as service? It's Destiny. You want to do a Suicide Squad? It's Destiny. You want to do mechas? It's Destiny. That's not how it should be. That works for Destiny. It doesn't necessarily work for anything else. And you can make a games as service without just making it this like loopy looter shooter crap. That being said, there's plenty of loop to this, and there's plenty of games of service to this, but what they do here that I find really cool is in Destiny and a lot of those other ones, you have to just do something to get a loot drop to hope you get the thing you want, and if you don't, go back and do the loot thing again and again and again. With this, everything is a blueprint, and you unlock those blueprints by leveling your character up. Once your character hits a level, you are now able to buy those blueprints, right? But those blueprints aren't just sold at every vendor. They're sprinkled throughout the map with different outpost vendors, different random vendors. So you have to go out and look for these blueprints and purchase these blueprints. And once you buy the blueprints, you then have to acquire the goods to get the thing you want. So if you want a specific ship, you can just go get that ship. You don't have to fight a boss 32 times with a loot drop percentage of 8.6% and hope you get the ship you want. You just go out, you find the blueprint for that ship, you bring it back, you craft the ship. You get the resources, you craft the ship. I love that. And that is one of the things that I think is the strongest case for Skull and Bones as a games of service and how they're doing it, is this aspect of just going out, finding stuff, and promoting that exploration in the whole pirate genre. And that's what we need to do with games of service. We need to find ways to promote more of the core elements of the thing that we're trying to represent in games of service, instead of just trying to make them Space Knight Destiny. So, I've got to give Skull and Bones that. I really enjoyed this aspect of it. My next pro is the fantastical stuff. This kind of comes off the ship combat. I know that a lot of people are like, torpedoes, pirate ships, what? I love it. I love the merging of it. I love that they stuck rockets and torpedoes and flamethrowers in there and every other crazy-ass thing to slap on your pirate ship. I think it's amazing. It's this weird blend that makes it very stylistic. It gives it its own feel. Plus, you have so much customization on these ships. So much customization. And really, they had to have it. For what this game is and how much time you spend with that ship, there has to be just but tons of customization options. And there are. Do you have to purchase them all? Yes, but I actually want to say only a small percentage of them are the premium currency. A lot of them you just buy with loot that you earn from selling stuff, which is great. How many games of service can you sell stuff in? Like useless stuff. Very few. You could turn them into like little materials to buy other things, but you can't just sell them to get money. This is a pirate life, baby, so you could just sell anything you have anywhere you want. Which will bring me to my next pro in a second. But still, back to these weapons. They're just so much fun to play with and see and slap on your ship in different ways. And I just love that. I love that aspect of it. Which will bring us to our next pro, which is how there's a really good commodity system here. So when you loot ships, and you can go after just about any ship, when you loot ships, you actually can pull luxury items off of them. They're called commodities in this game. The commodities, much like Sid Meier's Pirates back in the old days, sell for more in certain places and less in other places. And I really thought this was a nice touch to this kind of thing. It would have been really easy to just be like, well, then you sell it, then you go, then you sell it. This one, it's like, oh, I've got this much. Maybe I'll make a round over here. One of the things I did one day, which was really fun, was after I had gotten so many commodities of different types and kind of figured out where I could sell certain commodities, I just made a route. And like, I'm going to go here and sell this, and then I'm going to go here and sell this, and I'm going to go here and sell this, and see what I find on the way. And that was kind of fun, just to do like some trading stuff. There is tons of extra activities in this, side quests, bounty boards, all sorts of crazy nut stuff to do. Though we are going to get into the cons now. And one of the big things is it's all just ship combat. And that is kind of a bummer. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of the endgame stuff where you fight the mythical creatures, or you're running the helm, which is the smuggler's thing, or any of that. We haven't seen a lot of that yet in play because the open beta is just that first early chunk. That being said, it needs to be something interesting, because I will say, as much as I love this game, or have loved this game so far, it is still just ship combat. And how long am I going to be able to do that before I get bored? There's no other aspects to it. I know what you're thinking. First-person shooters just gun combat. And you're right, but there's a lot more variables to that, right? With this, they do put a lot of variables on the ship, but I'm wondering how far that's going to take us all as players when you're just going out there shooting ships and coming back. Which will lead me into my biggest con, and that is the price tag of this game is egregious. It is $59.99 for the standard edition, $89.99 for the premium edition with the 3 days of early access, or you could pay $17.99 for the Ubisoft Plus, which is their version of Game Pass. This is ridiculous. This game is a free-to-play game. Even Destiny is a free-to-play game now, guys. Why? Because that's how you do games as service. You make them free-to-play. You don't charge a huge sign-on fee at the beginning and then go ahead and jam a bunch of microtransactions in there. And believe me, while I was expecting much more egregious microtransactions, they're still in there. If you want the cute cat with the peg leg, you're spending gold, and gold is money. You have to spend money to get gold, period. I have not seen any way to earn the in-game currency of the gold, or doubloons, or whatever they're called. There's like a silver and a gold kind of icon. I haven't found any way in-game to earn the gold. If there is, then I will happily retract this statement. But so far, if you want the gold items, you're paying for them, paying real-world money. On top of your $60, it's just too much. This game should either be a discounted title or free-to-play, and then keep the microtransactions in. Because right now, paying $60 for this is a little bit ridiculous, in my opinion. It just is. My next big one is the writing and the dialogue. Look, guys, I said it at the top of the thing. This is as games as servicey as it gets when it comes to the dialogue. First of all, I don't know why the executives out there in the world decided that for every line of dialogue in a games as service, they have to say the thing that you have to earn to level up by the characters, like whether it's reputation or something else. And this is infamy, and every character is going to say infamy to you 42 times to the point where the word loses all meaning. There's be like, raise your infamy, pirate. Arr, how infamous are you? You got to get your infamy level up before I can sell you this boat. Go out there and earn some infamy. Just everybody says it 42 times. It's ridiculous, and this is a games of service thing. It's so obnoxious. The dialogue from the actual characters so far, while delivered competently by the voice actors, is trite and cliche. It's run-of-the-mill. The only one that I've found interesting is they just recently added this new first mate lady character who's just with you. She is kind of cool. I will give her that. She has some interesting lines. But even that, they're randomly delivered to you while you're just sailing around. She'll randomly be like, I saw a crocodile eat a guy once. What? Why is that pertinent to anything? I could skip past every line of dialogue in this game and know exactly what's going on in it. And that's not fun. That's not cool. That doesn't immerse you in the world. We need to have better writing for games as service as a whole, period. And just because it's a pirate game doesn't mean everybody has to be the most cliched pirate that has ever walked the earth. Like, can we have some depth in them? They're not just all like, army matey, like, all the time, which is a little bit obnoxious. And that's it. Am I going to stick with it? Yes, I am going to stick with it. It might be my anthem number 2, but I am. I enjoy this game. I want to purchase it. I wish that they have at least gave you the early access with pre-order for Standard Edition. It's obnoxious that they don't. But, yeah, I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it for a while, probably, and none of my friends are going to follow me into it. I will play it alone, and I will be the guy who's like, hey, it's not that bad. Want to play Skull and Bones with me? And they'll be like, no, we're going to play this 40-year-old Flash game. That's my life. But, yeah, I am going to play it. I enjoy the naval combat. I don't need the swashbuckling to enjoy it. I like the ship-to-ship stuff. I like that it's faster paced than than Sea of Thieves. I like that progression actually matters in this, whereas it doesn't in Sea of Thieves. And I also like that I don't have to have my friends to play this game. So I'm definitely going to purchase it. I'm definitely going to play it. I'll probably do another review down the line for this once I've actually played it. like the actual product instead of just the open beta. But I wanted to get this up on Friday, and I believe that the open beta is not going to change in any way, shape, or form. So this initial thing is good enough for Snap Judgment, so that's the way it's going to be. What do you guys think? Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Should I have just waited for the product to come out and reviewed it for Monday? You guys let me know in the comments below. You can also reach me on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join my Discord. Links in the description below. Influence this and all of my shows from there. As long as you guys keep watching, keep listening, I'll keep making them. And if you buy the game, consider playing it with me. I'm lonely.